So if something happens to her, like, you can't even demand any evidence. Kind of feel like because they know so much, or they maybe she could actually say, I had the files on my desk. I'm sorry, I didn't look at them properly. Your own people cooked this. You yourself cooked this, Mr. President. Hello there. So I was surfing about and bumped into this interesting article. I was thinking, okay, I have to cover this, man. So it blows my mind about this whole Jeffrey Epstein story, in that as much as the Republican Party and as much as Trump is trying to absolutely wipe this thing and sweep it under the rug, it just keeps growing its own branches and it keeps developing and it keeps developing. And I like how it's developing. Anyway, so apparently Ghislaine Maxwell's ex-cellmate claims that Epstein Madame, or Miss Maxwell, is not suicidal in the least. We'll go through this article, but first I want us to see here's how she looks like. I want to see the tweet. So Jessica Watkins, just putting it out there, I know Ghislaine Maxwell personally. When I was in prison with her, she isn't suicidal in the least. There's also virtually no working cameras in the FCI Tallahassee. Just getting ahead of the potential narratives. Oh my God. People are woken up. People right now I like the part where people are actually able to see through the BS. And nobody's buying this whole narrative that there's no Epstein list. Because the truth is, they say there was an Epstein list. There was a client list. How the heck did you find out about Prince Andrew? So there is a list, and I think so. Ghislaine Maxwell's ex-cellmate is coming out because it's kind of like, like we can't expect what's going to happen, yeah? Or there's the idea is, she might, I don't know, break her legs and choke herself at the same time, and it ends up being called a suicide. Let's check out this article. I find it really interesting. So Ghislaine Maxwell's former cellmate has insisted that the notorious Madame isn't suicidal at the least, as wild conspiracies still swirl over the suicide of Maxwell pedophile ex Jeffrey Epstein in his Manhattan lockup. This thing, sometimes I feel like maybe a lot of these elites, the way they behave and the way they treat the normal public, I kind of feel like because they know so much, or they are somewhere, they operate on one side of the law, and we operate inside, and they're basically on the side, and they're able to pretty much use and do whatever it is that they like to do, whenever it fits. Anyway, so just putting it out there, I know Ghislaine Maxwell personally. When I was in prison with her, she isn't suicidal in the least, tweeted Jessica Watkins, as we've already seen, who was behind bars for her part in the Capitol riots. So there's also virtually no working cameras in FCI Tallahassee. So Watkins wrote of the Florida prison where Maxwell is serving her 20-year sentence. Wow, that's a very convenient situation that there's no cameras. So if anything happens to her, considering she's actually interested in testifying, and she actually sees this as a get out of jail card for her. But the thing is, I'm with Jesse Watkins over here, where I'm thinking the get out of jail card that they might want to give her is a different kind of get out of jail card. Anyway, so just getting ahead of the potential narratives, she wrote, suggesting that Maxwell could meet a similar fate as Epstein, whose 2019 death was not caught on camera. Maxwell, who said she's willing to testify before Congress on Epstein's apparent full client list, was sentenced to 20 years behind bars in June 2022. Watkins' cryptic update comes just days after the Justice Department defended prosecuting Maxwell, saying she was wrong to claim that she was protected by the baffling sweetheart plea deal that Epstein struck with the Florida feds in 2007. Now, this is something very interesting. I didn't know about this whole this whole sweetheart plea deal, which was given to Jeffrey Epstein in 2027. And I researched a little bit onto it, and So this deal was made between Jeffrey Epstein and the Florida federal authorities in 2007. And it's been described as a baffling deal. Like it's out of this world. It's actually very interesting. So Ghislaine Maxwell's legal team argued that her bombshell prosecution or her prosecution should have been blocked under the terms of this 2007 deal that the Florida federal authorities in 2007 struck with Jeffrey Epstein. So her lawyers have gone to the point of even asking the US Supreme Court to toss the conviction based on this argument. However, the Justice Department defended prosecuting Maxwell, stating that she was wrong to claim that she was protected by this deal. One of the alleged reasons as to why Epstein was protected, so it specifically stated that in 2008, the US attorney Alexa Acosta allegedly explained that this deal was made stating that I was told. And that means the US attorney Alex Acosta was told that Epstein belongs to intelligence and to leave it alone. Crazy stuff. I'm telling you, crazy stuff. And actually, the most interesting thing is even when Pam Bondi was asked if Epstein was actually an intelligence asset, she actually claimed she doesn't have any knowledge about that. And she will get back to you on that. Come on, like, dude even passed. He has a court case in 2007 where he was actually protected because it was mentioned that he was an intelligence asset. I don't know what it is, but I kind of think like every 10 years, politically in this world, they do certain things, or the political class or the elites, they do certain things to absolutely mash people's brains up. Then they start the BS again. They're pretty much making it look like, I don't know, the people who existed in 2007, people who existed in 2007 are not alive. No, we're here, man. Come on. We saw this. We were able to read. You can lie to Gen Zs and the others, man. Like, dude, come on. Like, most people were in uni. I was in uni in 2007, so I was following this stuff and I was able to actually understand. And I remember very well. This case came out and it was actually on CNN, and it just disappeared. And right now, bumping into it, I'm convinced this is enough. This is actually true evidence, and clearly, even with all the evidence being presented, the Trump administration is just they're choosing absolute deception. They don't want anything to do with it, which means there's something they don't want us to see. And that's why I'm actually a bit worried on the part whereby even the other side, even the Democrat side, they're not really pressuring this, because even they themselves I kind of have a feeling that they're also implicated in this whole scenario. Now, so apparently, this whole deal, this sweetheart deal, did not cover Ghislaine Maxwell. And there's even, I think, there's a guy who wrote about how he went to Epstein's office in New York, where apparently Epstein was reportedly managing billions for billionaires and stuff like that, and didn't find anything. Like, it didn't look like there was a trading floor, it didn't look like there was anything happening in there. But the dude had money, somehow. Anyway, let's continue with the article. So this plea deal was struck for Epstein and not for Ghislaine Maxwell, and she couldn't be protected with it. So she was thrown in the slammer, and on top of that, in a slammer in Florida that doesn't have working cameras, which is very convenient considering we're missing 1 minute in her ex's prison footage. So if something happens to her, like, you can't even demand any evidence. It should actually be so clean. It should actually be more cleaner than the Epstein one. Anyway, so Maxwell legal team has asked the US Supreme Court to toss her conviction. So the disgraced British socialite lawyer argued that her bombshell prosecution should have been blocked under the feds in 2007, plea deal with Epstein. Okay, that one, it's not going to work because, I mean, you've already seen the details. During her trial, Maxwell was portrayed as a sophisticated predator who served as Epstein's right hand and abused young girls with him from at least 1994 to 2004. This guy had one facial expression all throughout in all his pictures, which gives me the vibe of trained. He was trained to always have this one expression, just one expression. Even on the side, you can still see it. It's one expression. So, Epstein, for his part, was found dead with a noose around his neck in Manhattan jail cell in 2019 while facing federal charges. His brother is amongst those suggesting that the pedophile was actually murdered. Brother knows where the fuck that guy is. So the Epstein chatter was kicked into high gear earlier this year when Pam Bondi suggested in an appearance on Fox News. That was the first lie she told us, yeah? Let's see.
The DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen?
It's sitting on my desk right now to review. That's been a directive by President Trump. I'm reviewing that. I'm reviewing JFK files, MLK files. That's all in the process of being reviewed because that was done at the directive of the president from all of these agencies.
So have you seen anything that you said, oh my gosh?
Not yet.
Okay. Well, we'll check back with you.
She had the question correctly. It's Epstein's client list. And she said, yes, it's sitting on her desk. Then she backtracked on it. So Pam Bondi said last week that the government will not be releasing any records after all, after Trump described the whole convicted sex predators case as sordid but boring. Trump, on his part, threw his support behind Bondi. Of course, it's not even a case of Trump throwing his support behind Bondi. I don't think so. It's a case whereby he just said no, don't do it, and Pam Bondi is one who threw her support behind Trump. Otherwise, I would say maybe she could actually say, I had the files on my desk. I'm sorry, I didn't look at them properly. Or what I saw, I also thought it was a list of clients, but after going through it, it wasn't. And on top of that, when I answered questions, that was a bit dumb of me, and I hadn't checked them. I just thought there's something definitely in there. There's a lot of like high-tech looking files and folders and such things, and I hadn't checked it out before I actually went for the Fox interview. She could easily have said that. And I actually think people might have actually been like, yeah, that can happen, but that's a bit unprofessional of you, but that can happen. But still, here, no, I'm not accepting this. So Trump went ahead and said that people are still talking about this creep. So that's unbelievable. The commander-in-chief said after the post that asked him about the notorious headline-grabbing case during the cabinet meeting last week. Now, and here's another problem where they end up doubling down on the same BS. And just, I actually think if they actually sat down and said, hey, could we just have said, like, kind of went for the interviews, we went half-cocked for those interviews in last year. But I think there's a mixture of arrogance in this whole, it smells of arrogance just as well. And thinking that everyone is just dumb. Anyway, so Trump said the radical left Democrats have hit the... So Trump says the radical left Democrats have hit pay dirt again. Just like with the fake and fully discredited Steele dossier, the lying 51 intelligence agents, the laptop from hell, which the Dems swore had come from Russia. No, it came from Hunter Biden's bathroom. And even the Russia scam itself, a total fake and made-up story in order to hide crooked Hillary Clinton's big loss in 2016 presidential election. These scams and hoaxes are all the Democrats are good at. It's all they have. They're no good at governing, no good at policy, and no good at picking winning candidates. Also, unlike Republicans, they stick together like glue. Their new scam is what we will forever call the Jeffrey Epstein hoax. And my past supporters have bought into this bullshit hook, line, and sinker. They haven't learned their lesson and probably will never. And probably never will. And probably never will, even after being conned by the lunatic left for 8 long years. I've had more successes in 6 months than perhaps any president in our country's history, and all those people want to talk about with strong prodding by the fake news and success stuff Dems is the Jeffrey Epstein hoax. Let these weaklings continue forward and do the Democrats' work. Don't even think about talking about our incredible and unprecedented success, because I do not want their support anymore. Thank you for your attention on this matter. Make America great again. He's throwing a tantrum. He's throwing a freaking tantrum like a kid who's been caught and starting to blame other people or the brothers and everyone else other than they themselves. Come on. Like, this is so frustrating. And I'm sure it's also frustrating for him, considering, I don't know, maybe it's like one of those cases where he's looking at, they know that he's looking at that list and they know that that list exists, but I kind of have a feeling that he looks at it and he looks at his administration and looks at everyone around him and looks at the list again and he's like, fuck, might not have an admin, might actually end up losing in the half terms or in the midterm. Cause maybe a lot of your donors are there, a lot of the people around you are there, you yourself are in there. How the heck did he end up blaming Democrats for this? Democrats have been catching L's. Like, dude, these guys are in their own world talking about sex changes and whatever's, man. Like, they're in their own world holding, I think, conferences talking about how they're going to appeal to men again. I don't think the Dems are even close to cooking up something like this. This is too advanced for them. And on top of that, you have your own people. Your own people cooked this. You yourself cooked this, Mr. President. You yourself cooked this. I'm together with Jessica Watkins. I'm saying that Ghislaine Maxwell is not suicidal. And on top of that, please do install some cameras in FCI Tallahassee. So that's my take, and thank you for watching. See you in the next video.